We have this crazy love for this child, but we can't seem to find some sort of middle ground because we're still trying to figure out why us didn't work, and all of this kind of stuff is going on. So for me, I think in regards to how I communicated at the time, I would have changed that. But again, inexperience wouldn't have allowed me to do so.
When you say communication, break that down, because it's quite a broad thing, and we say it a lot. But what does that mean? So someone watching now who may be struggling with co-parenting, who's going through it, who can't seem to get on the same page as their partner, what is communication in your eyes?
All right. So for me, there was a long time where I spent trying to communicate what I thought was amicably, and for whatever reason it turned into arguments. Now you see the shouting, the cussing, the rah-rah-rahing, and then being disrespectful towards each other. Those are some things that you can never take back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, this is all coming from, when I look back at the whole thing, and even at the time knowing it, this was all because we have this crazy love for this child, but we can't seem to find some sort of middle ground because we're still trying to figure out why us didn't work, and all of this kind of stuff is going on. So for me, it was, I can only be held accountable for my actions, so to speak. And again, looking back at it, it was just me being angry about the fact that I wanted to be this mega. She had a dream and I had a dream in regards to being parents. I didn't want to have a child and break up with the person and whatever else it is and blah, 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 blah. This entire baby mother, baby father thing that everybody talks about was happening to me. Again, so in feeling the way that I felt at the time, I didn't express myself in the best ways at times. Do you know what I mean? A lot of it came from places of anger, and not just with me being verbally abusive, whatever, but my actions, the way I treat you, how I may reply to messages, all of these kind of things. If I had probably cut some of that shit out and probably found somebody who was my mediator. My brother was a mediator for us for a long time. She had a crazy level of respect for my brother. I have a crazy level of respect for my brother, and he just didn't want to see the headaches. So he was that voice. Yeah. So probably doing that at earlier stages or whatever else it is, or taking... But again, you have this thing of not wanting people in your business and all of that. Brother or no brother, you want to kind of handle your business as your own man and whatever else it is and blah, blah, blah. So just me opening my mouth and speaking to people about some of my situations, or like I said, my brother, would have probably diffused a lot of the bullshit that we dealt with.
Right. So we talked about communication and, things that are happening at the time which led you to communicate in a certain way. Also, we factored in age. What advice would you give to those who are still holding things which happened, a while ago, and it's still actually impacting their co-parenting journey? How did you get over the hump? What was the realization that came to you that said, you know what, this bickering's not actually going any place. I need to kind of put this aside, put my emotions to the side, and actually deal with the matter at hand, which is making sure I'm involved in my child's life.
My anger situations and my communication levels led to me being quite sick. I had epilepsy for quite a while, to be honest with you. Stress-related epilepsy for like 9.5 years before my child. I never had one. You know what I mean? I never had a seizure or nothing like that beforehand. So how I was taking on the stress had a major impact on my life. So me personally, for anybody who is taking on stress, unless your child's physical health or mental health is at risk, it doesn't need to be a shout and a scream. That's all I know it's so hard and it sounds so cliche for me to say after saying that I've been through it all. But believe me, being an older person now, the back seat gets you to the journey so much quicker, through the journey so much quicker and so much more peaceful. You see, when you're trying to lead in the situation, you're at the front of the car, the both of you are trying to drive this car here. It's only going to end up with, no matter where, at some point you could get 10 miles down the road, 100 miles down the road, you're going to crash at some point with both of you trying to hold on to the steering wheel. Yeah. It's not going to work. You know what I mean? So especially when both people are hostile and both tired and whatever, allow the person to drive if they feel like they need to drive, or you can actually drive from the back seat and leave the person at the front to believe they're driving it. Be in control of your life. Be in control of you. Take accountability for yourself. and do what's best for your child, and use as many avenues as you can to have access and influence on your child's life. You know what I mean? And it's not always easy. It's never easy, to be honest with you, but just use as many avenues and tools as you can to be a heavy influence in your child's life, regardless of what your situation is with your baby mother or baby father, so to speak. You know what I mean?
You touched on something there that kind of resonated with me when you said, like, kind of work on yourself, be the best person you can yourself. Do you feel like you taking care of yourself has led to you being a better father in general and being a better man all round in regards to having a relationship?
100%. I think realizing that people will be people has allowed me to say, do you know what, be in control of me, because I can't control adults. I can guide my child, even my child.
Yeah,
like, I can't control him. Like, he has a brain, he has his own bodily functions, and he will move how he wants to move. I can only guide people and advise people. The older the person gets, the less control you have over that person. You see what I'm saying? So for me, it played a major part in my world, to be honest with you, being or understanding that I just need to take care of me. Again, it was unfortunate it took for me to have flipping seizures and all of this shit in order for me to understand that I needed to take care of me. But that was like my golden moment to say, do you know what? While I'm stressing out and having seizures or whatever else it is, she might be going to get her nails done. That's what I'm saying to you.
Yeah. Complete contrast to what you're going through at the same time.
She hates me and all this kind of blah, blah, blah. But her life will be her life and mine will be mine. That time that I spent stressing out over her, she was sorting out whatever she was sorting out. Or do you know what I mean? Or vice versa. So that was kind of my moment of waking up and understanding that, do you know what, I needed to take care of me in order to be better for anybody else around. Do you know what I mean? Because if I'm angry and vexed and still I'm not the best for anybody at that time. Do you know what I mean? People get the best of you when you're in your happiest states. I wasn't in my happiest state at the time. So I needed to change altogether, because again, it affects how your day to day. You go to situations or you go to work or whatever it may be, pissed off. You're starting your day pissed off, feeling drained with a heavy head and all of this kind of shit because of what went on last night, you and her shouting and screaming, or this morning, or the text that you got on the way to work. And it just sets your entire day off, and it changes how you communicate with absolutely everybody and how people see you and all of these kind of things. Do you know what I mean? So I just wanted to have a hold of my own life again. Yeah,
I think respect definitely gets built or lost depending on how you interact with that person, you know? So I can definitely hear where you're coming from with that. And I suppose with that, how have you found, you know, during those times or when things have been better, the task of making joint decisions? So if I give you a random example, something like picking a school or something like what activities, you know, your son's going to be doing, you know, how, you know, from afar or as a co-parent, how do you make those decisions and how do you compromise? Because I suppose compromising would be different when compromising is sometimes difficult when you're in the same house, right? So I'm thinking now, you know, how do you do it? You know, how does it work for you? And actually, what have you learned along the way in terms of how to better compromise and make joint decisions?
I was somewhat lucky, if I'm being honest, in regards to the fact that in regards to things like picking schools and activities and whichever else it was, we wasn't a million miles away from each other in regards to the kind of road that we wanted to go down in regards to those kind of things. So joint decisions weren't really a problem, so to speak, if you know what I mean. In regards to schools, we sort of somewhat grew up in the area ourselves, so we knew the schools. It wasn't like we was moving into this new area and we had to pick a school in this new ends based on what Ofsted has told us. It was us picking and knowing the background of the area that we're in, what schools were okay and whatever else it is, what type of kids, what gangbangers kids goes to that school and whatever. Do you know what I mean? So those decisions we made together, and I was lucky that we didn't have to fight in regards to those things. It was somewhat the same in activities. I think it just became more strenuous when the things were costing crazy money or whatever else it is, and like you're not together anymore, and she signed him up for karate, for example, and your finances ain't great this month, but now she's telling you that you got to send £35 every month or whatever else it is, as much as £35 a lot, £35 on top of the rah that you need to pay for on top of this and that, or whatever else it is a strain on your brain. Do you know what I mean? So at those times, as much as you may have wanted your child in those activities, when the decisions were made by herself, at sometimes it was just an extra stress because I now have to go and find an extra to feel more comfortable in order to do. Do you know what I mean? But I'm lucky enough to say that I didn't really have a hard time in regards to making decisions because our morals and standards were somewhat the same. For those who don't have that blessing, it's hard. Again, mediation, man. Finding somebody who you both find as level ground.
And what's the best for you? That's the important.
Mm-hmm.